Hi, Jamie Humphries here for Six String Alliance, and today we are looking at my 5 favourite riffs by Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains are without a doubt one of the biggest and most successful bands and influential bands to emerge from the 90s Seattle grunge scene. Formed in 1987 by Jerry Cantrell, guitarist-singer Jerry Cantrell and drummer Sean Kinney, they enlisted the vocal skills of the late great Lane Staley as well as the late bass player Mike Starr. Now, the band released their first album in 1990, Facelift, and this was a huge album for the band. Now, their second album, Dirt, was released in 1992, and this really saw the band come into their own. They really found their sound. The songwriting was just another level. Now, I was lucky enough to see Alice in Chains on the Dirt tour. I saw them in 1993 at the Brixton Academy, and it's one of those concerts that really stands out for me. I really gravitated towards the sound of the band. It was slightly progressive, it was very heavy, but at the same time incredibly melodic. I loved that blend of those crushing dark riffs and the ethereal vocals. Jerry Cantrell for me is one of the most inspiring and interesting guitar players to emerge from the 90s grunge and rock scene. Now, although he is a very accomplished soloist, he's not much of a solo pyrotechnic guy. He's much more about creating extensions of the melody, and his solos are incredibly melodic. Now, something I love about Jerry's playing is the way that he layers guitar tones and layers guitar parts. Now, when we get to Dirt, Jerry really pushed the envelope in terms of layering parts and layering sounds. And what he did on this record was that he recorded his parts through 3 amps simultaneously. So he'd have an amp covering the lower register, an amp covering the mid-range, and then an amp covering the higher register. When it comes to guitars, Jerry's been using G&L Rampage guitars pretty much throughout his entire career. He's also had a long association with Gibson. He's also played Music Man guitars as well. Alice in Chains toured with Van Halen very early on, and Eddie gave him a pair of his signature Music Man guitars. He had a blue one, which is why I'm playing my blue Axis today, and he also had a gold one. Now, there's quite an interesting story surrounding the gold Eddie Van Halen Music Man. It was actually stolen and out of Jerry's hands for a number of years. And then it turned up on Craigslist of all places for sale and was spotted by a gentleman called Tom Brino. And Tom reached out to a friend of mine, Mark Huzansky from Tone Talk, and told him about the guitar, told him that he'd seen it on Craigslist. And Mark and Dave Friedman from Friedman Amps set about locating the guitar, and eventually it was reunited with Jerry. Jerry has used a wide variety of amps throughout his career. He started out using Randall amplifiers. He was introduced to Randall through Dimebag Darrell from Pantera. For the Facelift album, he used a modified Marshall, but for live, he was using Bogner amps. He had a very long association with Bogner and used the Bogner Fish preamp in his live rig. When we get to the Dirt album, Jerry was using 3 different amplifiers to create that monstrous tone. He was using an early Mesa rectifier for the lower frequencies. For the mid-range, he was using a Bogner amplifier, and for the upper frequencies, he was using a Rockman preamp, like a Rockman headphone amp. He's had a very long association with Bogner amps and was using a variety of different Bogner amps throughout his career. And then he started working with Dave Friedman, and Dave was building his rig and modifying his amps, and eventually they started working on a signature Friedman amp, which is where we are today with the Double J. Let's talk a little bit about the gear that I'm using today. In honor of Jerry's blue Van Halen Music Man, I'm using my blue Axis, which is obviously derived from the original Van Halen model. Instead of the JP2C, I'm plugged into my new Mesa Badlander, which is the latest amp in their rectifier range. I am using the rack, but I'm not using any effects apart from the rack wah-wah and an MXR EVH chorus. The great thing about the Badlander is that you can run it without a speaker cabinet. It's got its own onboard load box and built-in cab clone IR. So I've got an XLR coming from the back of the amp straight into my UAD audio interface, and I'm using a Mesa 4x12 impulse response. So that's all within inside the amplifier. So not only is it a great sounding amp, but it makes it even more versatile and a lot more user friendly, especially if you have a home studio and noise is an issue. So if you're interested in this amplifier, head on over to the Mesa Boogie YouTube channel where you can see my full in-depth demo of the Badlander. Okay, so to kick things off, we're going to take a look at our first riff, and this is Man in a Box. I'm cheating a little bit because I'm playing a few more riffs than one riff. I'm going to play through a slightly abbreviated version of the track, and yeah, let's take a look at it and then we'll break down the parts. Here we go. So before we start breaking the riff down, I should point out that I'm in E flat tuning. So here's an open E chord. So that's standard Alice in Chains tuning, if you like. So everything down a half step. And when we drop down to drop D tuning, obviously that's down a half step as well. So this riff is a pretty straightforward riff. That's what makes it so cool. We're playing 5th fret of the A string against an open E, and you're just playing this little groove. So you're doing a little bit of bouncing on the strings with some mutes. So. Then we have this little hammer-on E minor pentatonic lick, which is 5 to 7 on the E and 5 on the A, and then we repeat. Then we're into our next riff, and this riff follows the vocal melody, and this is actually performed with a talk box on the original recording, but we're using a wah-wah today, and that's what Jerry would use live. So this is a little E minor pentatonic figure. We're hammering 7 to 9 on the D, then we play 7 on the G, and then hammer 7-9 on the G, then we play 7 on the D, hammer 7 to 9 on the D, then drop down to 5 on the D, then hammer 5 to 7 on the D, then we play 5 on the D and we bend that slightly sharp, and then we play a 7 on the A string. So you get this. We play an open E, and then we play the 7 on the A one more time, and then we have our little figure that we saw during the first part of the intro. And then we go around that little melody again. So I'm going to play it one more time for you, and this time I'm going to kick in the wah. Let's have a listen. Obviously, you're using the wah pedal like an expressive vocal tool. So into the next part of the riff, this is the verse. So it's the same riff, just the 5 on the A with the open E. Finish off there, we play a 5 on the A, open E, back to 5 on the A, and then hammer 5 up to 7 on the A. Then we're down to some kind of rock and roll inspired riffage, which is it's a G5 to a G6. So that's 3 on the 6th string and 5 on the A string, and we're playing 7 on the A string, just swapping between the 5 and the 7. So it's kind of like your old school Chuck Berry riffing. So the riff goes like this. And then we're back to our open E and our 5 on the A. This time we really accentuate that 5 on the A. So. Okay, then we have our little E blues scale rundown. Hammer 5 up to 7 on the A. 5 on the A. And then 7, 6, 5 on the E, and then we can collude on the 3 on the E. Then we're into the chorus. I know that I'm showing rather more than one riff, but all of these riffs are great. Pretty straightforward chorus, really, just some power chords. E5 to a G5 to a D5. To an A5, and then we play an open E to the 3rd fret E. I've seen Jerry playing it where he plays a full E chord and a full G major. Now let's take a look at riff number 2, and this is Damn That River from the album Dirt, and I'm going to play an abbreviated version. There's a few riffs in this that I thought were cool to look at, so just going to play a little abbreviated version of the parts, and then we'll break it down. So let's have a listen to the riffs. So now let's look at the parts from Damn That River. And before we get into the riff itself, first of all, we're in drop D tuning. And also we should talk a little bit about the time signature. Now this riff is actually in 6/4, or you could see it as 4/4, a bar of 4/4, bar 2/4. I prefer to count it in 6. So you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So straight away, it's a slightly unusual time signature for a hard rock metal track, and just goes to show that slightly progressive side, dare I say, to Alice in Chains and Jerry's songwriting. So the riff itself, as I said, we're in drop D tuning. We're starting off just playing power chords across the bottom 3 strings. We're playing 3, 4, and 5 on the bottom 3. Then to the open bottom 3 strings. And then we play 5, 6, and 7. So that's 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, then down to 3, and then back to open. So. And then we start again. And the final time we stop dead on the 3rd fret. So one more time. Then we have this cool melodic line. We're playing 3 on the D string. We pull that by a semitone. Play 5 on the G. Back to 3 on the D. To 2 on the G. And then we play 3 and 5 on the D and an open D. So put that together. And then we repeat. And then we have a different ending, which is just 5, 3, open on the D. So slowly, here's the whole section. Here's the next riff. So we're playing an F power chord, F5 power chord, 3 on the D and 5 on the G. We go up a semitone and then back down. So that's 3 and 5 up to 4 and 6 and back down to 3 and 5. And then we play 3, 5 on the A to 3 on the D to 5 on the A. And then we bend, we play the 5 on the D and we bend that down, we pull that down. So. We're back to 3 on the D and then to 5 on the A. Then we do the power chords again. And we finish off by playing 5 on the A twice down to 3 on the A. And then we're back into the heavy open riff. Now we're on to riff number 3, and it's time for the mighty Them Bones. Let's have a listen to the riff. I absolutely love this riff. Once again, we're in drop D tuning, and once again, we see another unusual time signature. This time we're in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this riff kicks off with a D minor 7th chord. We play 5 on the G and 6 on the B, open, low D, A, and D. So you get this. And then we have the open D power chord. And again, he's going up chromatically. We have open, and then we have 1st fret and 2nd fret and 3rd fret on the low 3 strings. And he does play that with alternate picking as well. Really try and dig in with your palm and get that chugging signature cantrell sound out of the riff. The final time we cut off on the 3rd fret. Cut that really tight, and then we go into the riff for the verse, and the verse riff is a lot more open. It still references the intro riff, but you'll hear the rhythm is different. We let the chords ring. So let's take a listen to that. So we start off with a D5 power chord, 2 on the G and 3 on the B, and then we're just playing the open 6th, 5th and 4th strings. Then we play 1 across the bottom 3 strings, 2, 3. And we're just doing that climbing chromatic power chord figure again. But leaving everything open. So it's a real contrast between that riff and the intro riff. Then we jump up to the 8th fret, down to the 7th fret, and then we have this little sort of country-inspired figure, which is sliding from the 9th fret of the D up to the 11th fret D. It's a little 6th interval figure, and we play 10 on the B string. And then we're up to the 10th. Again, it's just chromatically down 10, 9, and then we cut off on the 8th fret. And then we're back into the intro riff with the minor 7th chord. Now let's take a look at Rooster from the Dirt album. I'm going to play it for you first of all, and then we'll break it down. Let's now look at the parts to Rooster, and this is more of a chord progression than a riff, but I felt it should be covered. For this, I'm actually still using my crunch tone. I've just backed the volume down just to clean things up a bit. That's the kind of sound on the record. It's It's not a totally clean tone. It's just sort of somewhere in between. I've also engaged the chorus as well. As I said, I'm using the EVH 5150 chorus. So we kick things off. We're playing an F sharp major chord at the 2nd fret. And then we just take our first finger away. And then we move up to A at the 5th fret. And we do the same thing, just take the first finger away. It's a really easy part, and it's a great part if you've just got into playing guitar. You could just take a basic bar chord. It's exactly the same shape. You're just removing the first finger. And just adding those open strings to the chord really changes the sound of the chord quite dramatically. Now, this was obviously a slightly scaled down performance that I did. We repeat over those chords, and then we head up to the 7th fret for the B major chord. Then up to the 10th fret for the D major. Then we have this next chord part, which is based around F sharp major again, but we're just taking the first finger on and off. So we have this little pattern. So you do a down strum with the first finger off, then we add it. And then we do a down, then an up with the finger off, and then a strum with the finger on. So you get this. Then we do it again. And then we add our 3rd finger across the D, G and B strings at the 4th fret, playing a B chord with the F sharp in the bass. And then back to F sharp. So put that together. Then we're up to our B chord again. D major. Okay, now we're going to turn off the chorus, kick in the full drive sound, and we're into our next part, which still we're holding that F sharp chord. We start with our first finger off. And then we're strumming right across the chord, that F sharp chord with the open B and E in the top. It's actually an F sharp 11th chord. Use the whammy bar for some vibrato. Then we have an A5. And then we have this little chromatic rundown from the F sharp blues scale. 4 on the A, 3 on the A, 2 on the A, open A, and then to 2 on the bottom E. Then we have another A5 power chord, and then we just repeat that. Okay, so now it's time for our final riff, and this is the track Wood from the Dirt album. And I must admit, I had a bit of a hard time deciding which riff to look at. So I just thought, why not look at all of them? So I'm just going to play a real hyper condensed version of the track, looking at all of the main riffs, because there are some absolutely great riffs here. The verse riff is fantastic, but then the outro riff is just an absolute classic. So I'm going to play it through for you, and then we'll take a look at the parts. Okay, so we kick off. Once again, we're using the volume control on the guitar to clean things up. We start off with harmonics on the 12th fret E and A. Play those again. Then an open E and the 6th fret of the G string. So then we have this little figure. We're barring across the 4th fret D and G, and as we strike them, we're hammering onto the 6th fret of the G. Then we go back to the 4th fret D and G, so we do that little figure twice. And we play 5 on the D string and 4 on the G. So. And then we slide into 5 on the G, 5 on the D, 4 on the G and 5 on the B. And repeat again. Then we play that little arpeggiated figure an octave lower. So we slide into 3 on the low E on the 6th string. And we play 2 on the A and the D. Then we play that figure that we were playing here on the 4th fret D and G, hammering onto the 6th. We play that now on the E and the A string at the 2nd fret and hammer onto the 4th fret of the A. And then we play 3 on the bottom E and 2 on the A. There's that little arpeggio we're going through on the E, 2 on the A and 2 on the D. Repeat. Then we turn the volume up, you hear all the gain come in, and we're into a figure based around a B5 chord played at the 2nd fret to a G5 chord. Then we're into the next part, and this section is absolutely fantastic. This really demonstrates Jerry's awesome riff composing skills at their best. We have a D5 chord. And then we go up to a D7 sharp 9. So it's a Hendrix reference here. We play 5 on the A, 4 on the D, 5 on the G, and 6 on the B. Play that chord twice. Then we have a G sharp 5. Drop down to a G5. Then we go to the next chord, which references another kind of Chuck Berry style blues riff, similar to what we saw in Man in a Box. And here we're playing an E5, open E, 2nd fret A, E6, which is open E, 4th fret A, and E7, which is open E and 5th fret A. And you have this little rhythm. He's keeping this 16th note rhythm going with his picking hand. So such a fantastic riff. And then we conclude with the D7 sharp 9, which is accented by the drums following the vocal part. So putting a little bit of vibrato on those chords as well. So I hope you've enjoyed playing through these riffs. Don't forget to follow the link in the description and head over to the Six String Alliance website where you can download the tab for this lesson for free. All that we ask of you is for your email address so that we can add you to our mailing list. and yeah, keep you up to date with things that are going on when we launch the website, etc. So anyway, that's it from me. Take care, everyone, and if I don't see you before, have a very Merry Christmas. There's lots more content on the way, so stay tuned. And if you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. That's it from me. Bye for now. Take care.